More than 600 girls aged 9 and 10, between 9 and 10, gave birth in South Africa in 2020. Good evening, and hope you had a very wonderful day and hope you enjoyed your weekend. For those of you who went to church, I hope you had a very good time in church. And I just feel we should just kind of continue from where we stopped last weekend. We talked about, for those of you who followed, who watched the video afterwards, we talked about the collapse and how, we can relate that to, how we raise or how children are being raised in this time and age. And so, which also amounted to collapse in different forms, which by extension had led to insecurity and quite a number of problems that we have as a nation today, and even issues that you are facing personally. They are, as a result of, issues with the foundation. The Bible says, if the foundation be destroyed, what can even the righteous? So even for you to succeed as a righteous person, you've got to work on the foundation. There are laid down foundation. About one of the foundations that we have, which we have done away with in this time and age, is the foundation that were laid by our fathers. The Bible says that you should not do away with ancient landmarks. Don't do away with ancient landmarks. And so, unfortunately, we have a generation now who says what our parents did was old school. I remember I mentioned last week how these parents of ours, these are parents, how they went to the farm, they rode bicycles. The best some of them had was a motorcycle, and they still built houses. They had many children, and so many of them, send their children to school from farming, cocoa, monies made from cocoa, monies made from, rice planting and all of that. Come on. I remember, just about 25 years, 25 years back, about 25 years back, the competition in my village, my town then, was, the one who is said to be a strong guy is the one who has been able to produce the largest number of bags of rice. But today, nobody is planting rice again. Who is even going to plant the rice? I went there sometime earlier this year, and it's like everybody is taking off. Everybody is just out of the place, and nobody is doing anything again. The ones who are around are just doing nothingness and all of that. And so, but then think back. The legacies that our parents laid were legacies of hard work. Hard work. And so we have failed to pass that on to our children. And so we are already laying a foundation for bigger problem, bigger than what we are facing at the moment, if we don't do the right thing. But then that takes us on into what we're going to be looking at today. And this has to do with this 600. It says more than 600 girls aged between 9 and 10 gave birth in 2020 there in South Africa. And of course, we have that record. We have this record because they have data. And so you can imagine what's happening in a country like Nigeria. Don't assume that we don't have this problem. We do. We are only facing, other issues that we think are, more prevalent, more touching. There are more stories that touch the heart than these ones. But these are things that happen even here. We have these problems here. I remember back then, it's going to about more than 25 years ago, there was a young girl in my village, a relative, who got pregnant at 13. And I remember it was a shame to the family. It was, I don't know if you get what I'm saying. They were like, come on, how do you have done such a thing? How do you expect people to see us as a family? How do you expect, it was a shame. I think the guy even took off. He couldn't stay around, because of the shame that loomed around. I even remember, I think they eventually arrested the guy. I remember seeing him at the police station there in Iju. And, so we've had things like this happen, from way back. And so if we do not correct these anomalies, they will find their way into our society to become the normals. And so, because I beg your pardon, because we don't correct certain things at the right time, they creep in and they stay long. They are able to grow, they are able to have a conducive environment to grow and reproduce themselves, and so it becomes a norm. It becomes a norm. And so, for instance, divorce is just almost a norm, around the world today, because there had been no cogent corrections, there had been no cogent solutions to these, fringe issues that cause this divorce. You see somebody who proposed or who professed to love somebody suddenly saying that he's no more interested or she's no more interested. Why is he no more interested? Because, one ridiculous thing. Because of one ridiculous thing, I'm not saying that you cannot step aside because of abuse. If there is abuse in the marriage, then you've got to seek, help. And if I may digress a little bit, before you point an accusing finger at somebody, if you check properly, you discover that the remaining four are pointing back at you. So you need to check yourself properly. Yes, you're stepping aside in out of such relationships might not be that you are stepping aside so that the other person will change. You are stepping aside to check yourself, to be sure that, are you sure I'm not the one carrying this garbage that is thinking in this relationship? And so we'll talk about that, some other time anyway, don't worry. And so, but then let's look at these statistics coming from South Africa. And we just want to use it because it's close by. South Africa is just down there. And so we can use it. Let's just use it as a yardstick. And so if you talk about 600 in South Africa, what comes to my mind is like about 900 or 1,000 in Nigeria, because we are not we have no data. There is no database. There is no database, and that has compounded the issue of Nigeria. It had compounded. We have always worked on estimation, estimated population, estimated this, estimated that. And so that's why when they say, I was just looking at the figure just before I came on here now, and they said they had disbursed a particular number of billions of naira to some youth. And I was going to ask, can you tell me, I don't understand. I've never seen anybody who said actually got something. But then they keep coming to tell us that, they gave you this, they gave youths this, they gave women this. But I never saw anybody. I'm not saying that they did not give them out, but then I'm not seeing anybody who has said they received something. Okay, no, let's focus on this one at the moment. Now, according to statistics, South Africa, 899,303 babies were born in 2020. Do we have that data in Nigeria? That's one question that we should ask ourselves. And these are things that we are supposed to be working on. These are foundational issues. These are the basics. Seriously, these are the basics. When you talk about, when you're talking about, for instance, we're looking at insecurity, which of course is the in thing in Nigeria today. When you're looking at insecurity, when you're looking at corruption and all of that, these are the roots cause. These are the places where they all stem up from. When we do not have a database of how many babies that were really born in Nigeria in a year, in 6 months, in a particular month, and doing everything possible to see to it that these children that are born have been taken care of. Anyways, I want to ask me, the ones that have been born and grow up, what have we done about them? Anyways, we'll come back to that. They were born in South Africa, according to statistics, 899,303 babies were born in South Africa in 2020. And of those, 34,587 were born to girls aged 17 and younger. And so, of the 34,587 births from teenage mothers, 16,042 were aged 17, while 688 were aged 9 and 10. 9 and 10 years younger. 9 and 10 years younger. So early pregnancy and motherhood in South Africa creates a greater risk in terms of maternal complications, resulting in low survival rates of babies, and forces many girls to prematurely take on an adult role which they are not emotionally, physically prepared for, said the statistics from South Africa. What that simply means is that to take on a parental role, there is a need for emotional and physical maturity for you to take on such roles. Unfortunately, we have had a lot of people taking on these roles immaturely. That's why they jump in, garbage in, and the garbage out. Garbage in and the garbage out. Once heard a story of a young girl who gave birth, and the baby will cry, and she breastfeeds the baby. There are babies like that anyway who will not just stop crying. I wonder what those babies were thinking about. Maybe thinking like, oh God, why did you just allow me to be born in Nigeria? And then the mother is just trying to stop the baby from crying, thinking, well, what she but the baby is actually saying something else that does not concern you. That's why you are trying to put the breast in the mouth of the baby. The baby is not interested. It's not just your business, because it's trying to tell you that you don't understand what I'm saying. It's not you I'm talking to, Jerry, just to disturb me. You are trying to stop your breast in the mouth. Woman, you must suffocate me now. Or because the baby cannot talk. So the baby will cry and cry. The baby will cry, and so the mother will start crying too. It took the intervention of grandma to come and save the situation. I saw once heard of a young lady who said she loves to carry pregnancy, but she doesn't like to carry babies. She said she loves pregnancy. She can carry pregnancy, but she doesn't like to carry babies. That sounds weird and interesting. She loves to carry pregnancy, but she doesn't like carrying babies. Statistics for the recorded live births in 2020 were released on Thursday, showing that 1,003,307 births were registered in South Africa. Of these, 899,303, which is just about 89.6%, were births that occurred and were registered in 2020. And so current birth register, while 104,004, which is just about 10% or 10.4%, were births that occurred in previous years but were registered in 2020, said the statistics in South Africa. While KwaZulu-Natal continuing to perform poorly in terms of registering birth within the stipulated 30 days period, only 64% of births were registered within 30 days. Statistics said in South Africa, still focused on South Africa, said information about the fathers remained the biggest challenge. Information about the fathers remained the biggest challenge. The way remains, why they could not get registered, because we only get to see the mothers being brought in most of the time by their own people, by their families, by their parents, because the guy is nowhere to be found. And so that will take us further into some other discussions. And of course, I'd like us to pay rapt attention, as this will affect us and help us to, it will help us and, cause a shift. It will cause a shift in the way we do things and the results that we get. We've had lots of issues of, men. There was a community, just think about on Saturday, on Friday, they went there, they in Ogun State, there's about 30 thugs wore masks, and they got into the community. They stole and destroyed so many things. And on Sunday, I think, or I don't know again, they went back there in a larger number, and this time they raped housewives in their shops. And so one might just begin to wonder. One begins to wonder when you hear cases of this issue of grown-up people, guys, impregnating, young chaps, young ladies. One begins to wonder what's going on in their mind. Of course, we'll come back to that because we must get priorities right. We must get priorities and our values right, and that is very, very important in whatever we do. Let's look at this. Let's finish with these statistics. Then we come up to do some other steps. In 2020, no reliable information on fathers could be provided due to a high proportion of birth, more than 60% being registered without details of fathers. Without the details of fathers. So that means we just have girls who unfortunately fall into the hands of guys who just sleep with them and impregnate them and disappears into thin air. Section 10 of the Births and Death Registration Act prohibits unmarried fathers to seek their information on the birth certificates of a child, which contributes to the higher number of births with no information on fathers, said the statistics. Now, like I would always say, it is important, very, very important, that we pay attention to the way the girl child is being raised. The way the girl child is being raised. Very, very, very important. And women have, they get to come to that point where they understand their personality, they understand their peculiarity, they understand who they are, they understand what position they hold in the society, and how they should handle themselves, how they should take care of themselves. I was privileged to be in a meeting where I was invited to speak to women, and as I was explaining to them that we all need to understand, women need to understand that, for instance, the woman needs to understand that she was made from a very fine product. The woman was made or is made out of a very fine finished product. Very, very important. Very, very important. You must realize it. You must realize it that you were made from a finished product. You were made out of a finished product. The man was made out of a coerced product. And so that's why you see the way we do our things sometimes. Some of you wonder why your husband keeps coming on. You have corrected and corrected, and you're still wondering why he's still doing the same thing. Some of you have been married for so many years, and you wonder why the same thing keep repeating itself again and again and again and again. And so it is important that we get it straight. It is important that we get it straight. Do we have connection? It's important that we get it straight and understand our office, understand what we are doing and what we are called to do. Thank you, my sister. God bless you. Yeah, so we must understand what we're doing. Now, the woman is a very, very, fine product. It's a very nice creature. We are creatures too. But the woman was made from a finished product, which makes her very delicate. Well, I don't know how to say some things now because I want to have a special segment where I'll be discussing some, very raw stuffs that you would agree with me. We all need to know. They are not taught even in the best universities. They are not taught even in the best universities of the world. We just got to understand these truths and these facts and just know them. We just need to understand them and just know them and just appreciate those facts. The man needs to know who a woman is. Don't just know who your wife is. Know who the woman, the creature called woman, you need to know who they are. And so, I do not want us to digress too much, because we are looking at this, children giving birth to children. So you can imagine a child, a teenager giving birth to a child. What does that child know? I see a lot of people on the street who are carrying a baby, and I'm so sorry, I'm wondering, oh, this person is still supposed to be back. She is backing a baby, but I see her as a baby who a mother is still supposed to be backing. Oh, come on, you say you are happy that you are a grandmother, but I tell you, it's a shame. It's a shame. Yes, your child is giving birth at the age of 15 when she's supposed to be in school, and you are happy that you have a grandchild. And for those of you who you can't it all joy, your children give birth, they come and dump the children with you. You are the one helping them to take care of their children, and so you will raise 2 generations together. That is a good definition of failure on your own part. That means you've not passed on the right thing to your own child. Because the Bible already makes it clear that the path of the just is like the sun that shines brighter and brighter unto the perfect day. What that simply means is that my father's generation was good. My own generation must be better. And you know what? My children's generation must be much more better. And as a matter of fact, I'm doing everything possible to pass on things that will not just affect the generation of my children, but the generation of even the unborn generation of their own children also, if Jesus tarries. And so it is very, very important. These children who have given birth at this age have the fault in the hands of whoever raised them. Their guardian, their parents, or what have you. You receive the blame, and there will be an aftermath effect on the society. That's what it means. A aftermath. Now, apart from the shortfall in the number of survivors, even the ones that survive, how are they being raised? Who is raising them? Who is imparting them? Because the person who is imparting them, does she or he, in fact, you can see from what I read to you that even the fathers don't show up. More than 60% of they don't have records of more than 60% of the fathers of children born in South Africa. You see, I'm using South Africa as a yardstick. I just want to kind of say, So that means that if we take some statistics, if we take some records in Nigeria, we will weep. And we will just agree that we are where we are today by our own doings, by our own makings. And so you wonder why you have people in offices who will not do what they are there, what they are paid to do for you. You will have to bribe them. Go and check who raised that child. What values were passed on to that child? What values were imputed into that child, or that young man, or that woman? Who is in that office? We were going to do NIN. We're going to do NIN some time back. I make bold to say with all sense of humility, we contributed money to buy fuel into the generator. Government prior status, they told us categorically, there's no light, we have a generator and we don't have fuel. Yet, we have budgets of billions. And when you talk about corruption, you are not talking about people who fell from the sky. No, they were raised by mothers. They were raised by fathers. In fact, lots of fathers have failed woefully. Who is to blame? Who is to blame? In just 1 year, according to statistics taken in a particular country, 600 children gave birth to children. Children born by children, raised by children. We will only eventually have a community and a society that is full of children. No wonder Solomon already said that, woe unto you when your king is a child. when your king is a child. Now, when we talk about children, I think in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 10 or 10:13, one of the two, you hear Apostle Paul say, when I was a child, I spoke as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. Or I spoke as a child, I thought as a child, I understood as a child. He said, but when I grew up, I threw away childish things. So what does that simply mean? It simply means that what are the childish things? What is the childish thing there? You know that before you talk, you must first of all think. When you think, you have an understanding. When you have an understanding, then you can now open your mouth, knowing that whatever you say cannot be retrieved. Look, you can say something wrong. You can abuse somebody, say something, verbatically wrong to somebody, and you say, oh, they said, oh, you shouldn't have said that to him now. Oh, really, you mean I shouldn't have said that? I'm sorry. But you see, I'm sorry does not, it means that, oh, you are sorry that you said it, but what you have said has been said. People say that it's like an egg that drops. Once it falls, it's done. It's done. You can't retrieve it. You can't bring it back. You can't bring it back. So Apostle Paul said, I spoke as a child. So you discover that a child would always do things in the reverse of what the elderly or matured person would do it. Little wonder they said that what the elders will see sitting down, the child will not see, even if she climbs to the top of an iroko tree. I hope you know what an iroko tree is. For those of us who came from the village, you know what I'm talking about. Not those of you who are tush. I'm not talking to the tush though. Don't mind us. We are born and bred in the village. Yes. For those of you who attended Unity, Kere, Anglican Grammar School, Iju, Eluju. I didn't go to Eluju anyway, but I know those schools are, there. And so we know what we're talking about. And so that means that there is something the parents, the elders know. And unfortunately, these elders who knew those things are beginning to, they are going. They are going gradually. We just have a few of them left. Our villages are beginning to become scanty because all of us have taken off. We are in London, Germany, US, Canada, in Lagos. Even those of you in Akure will not even go back home and say hello to them in the village. Kodabeo. Well, what are we saying in essence? What are we saying in essence? There is need for us to wake up. There is a need for us to wake up. And not just wake up, but wake up to our responsibilities. If we continue like this, and like I said, let's use what is happening or what has happened, the statistics of South Africa, as a yardstick for what is happening in Nigeria. Even though we don't have records, we don't have data, we don't have statistics. Please, let us use what is happening on that side. So if we have this happening on that side, then what is happening in Nigeria? What is happening in Nigeria? Let me close by saying that until we come up with capital punishment, until we come up with capital punishment for people who perpetrate such heinous acts, we probably will not have, come or have an end to all these stuffs. We probably will not have an end to it. So you agree with me. And so do your part. Do your part. For those of you who are parents, who are intending parents, you've got to do your best to raise your children properly. If you train a child very well, it will not depart from it. You would have done not just your community. Unfortunately, we so pay attention to those that just that one child, two children. No, you must as you raise that boy, that girl in your care, you must understand that you are raising a community. You are raising a nation. So if you fail in raising that child in your care, then you have failed a community. You have failed a nation. If that child becomes the governor, it's a disaster in the making. A disaster in the making. Well, thank you very much for having me. Thank you for those of you who have watched, who are still watching, who will still watch. And please do us a favor, share this video with others. God bless you. I hope you must have learned one or two things It's for your consumption. Help yourself and help your generation. Help the unborn generation. No, I don't